Here. There we go. 3, 2, and 1. Well, Tom Perez, welcome to Wausau. Welcome back to Wisconsin. We're gonna say
Great. It's great to be back, and I want everyone to know this is not my first visit to Marathon County and
yeah.
Wausau because my in-laws have a place up in Marinette County. My middle kid went to Madison. My wife and 4 of her 5 siblings went to Madison, and my father-in-law lives in Milwaukee. So we get to Wisconsin all the time, and but for the fact that I'm a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, I would also be a Green Bay Packer fan.
Oh
So
man, yeah, I don't know which
there
one's in
you
worse
go.
shape right now, but that's a different.
That's a different episode for this show.
Yeah, no kidding. First off, this was not planned. I just happened to grab the Wisconsin hoodie and the Wisconsin hat today and put the Camp Randall on Zoom, and then Tom hops on here and he says, "Oh yeah, I've been in this spot in Camp Randall. I've been in this spot." Just go ahead and elaborate a little bit. What is your tie to Wisconsin? Why is this area so special for you?
Well, my wife of 35 years and I got married in Milwaukee, August of 1988. And we have been going up to her folks' cabin in Marinette County in Crivets, which is about a 2.5 hour, 2:45 drive for literally 40 years. And I've been going to Packer games. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. That's why I got the Buffalo Bills virus.
Oh, sure.
But we have 3 children, and my youngest son is very close to his grandfather and is also a fair-weather fan. And his entire life, the Packers have been good, and until recently, the Bills stunk. So he's a Packer fan first and a Bills fan second. So
wow.
Wisconsin's a very special place, and I especially love counties like Marathon County, Wausau, not simply the urban areas of Wisconsin, but the entire state is a very near and dear to my heart state because it's good people, really solid values, and the folks help each other out. And that's how I was raised, and that's how my wife was raised. And frankly, I've tried my entire life to work on expanding opportunity and addressing critical issues that confront communities. And what we're going to talk about today, which is safe drinking water, can't get a more fundamental right that people ought to have.
No kidding. So the director of Intergovernmental Affairs. Now, I know on the surface that maybe looks like, okay, somebody really wanted somebody else to have a job in government, but as you just kind of elaborated on there, you're in this to help people. It's all about bringing people together to get things done, which is definitely something that we're going to be doing here on Thursday in Marathon County.
Absolutely. I've had the privilege for many years of working in Wisconsin during the Obama administration. I led the Civil Rights Division, and then second term as your U.S. Labor Secretary, and spent a lot of time in Wisconsin making sure that people had access to good quality jobs that paid a decent wage. I believe that when unions succeed, America succeeds. President Biden is the most pro-union president, I think, in our history. You saw what happened with the UAW strike. And, folks in Wisconsin, I've spent a lot of time, not simply down in Milwaukee, but around the state, dealing with folks. The farm foreclosure crisis in recent years was something that tore my heart out because generational family farmers were running into some real challenges. We want every community to have opportunity. All 72 counties should have clean drinking water. And now, as a senior advisor to the president, we're working on the implementation of some really important laws that got passed in the beginning of this administration. The bipartisan infrastructure bill is not about Republicans and Democrats. It's about helping people everywhere in every county. It's about making those investments that, frankly, haven't been made in, probably Eisenhower was the last president who invested in infrastructure at the level that President Biden has invested in his tenure. And it's not just under the infrastructure bill, but there was a bill called the American Rescue Plan passed in the height of the pandemic that allowed Wausau and other communities across Wisconsin to survive frankly, provided help for childcare providers, provided help for local governments. And Mayor Rosenberg is a real rock star in Wausau, and she's been very, very aggressive in making sure that her constituents are taken care of. And this is the opportunity we have. There have been unprecedented investments in infrastructure, and this is the moment to do it. And as it relates to water, I mean, clean water is essential for healthy families and thriving communities. It's a fundamental right. You may have read years ago what was going on in Flint, and the drinking water was unsafe. I mean, when you go to your tap to get a glass of water, that ought to be the safest thing you do day in and day out. And I know people who followed that were aghast. Well, what's equally unconscionable is that it wasn't an isolated incident. And the president has committed in a 10-year period to replacing all lead pipes in America in a 10-year period. And we've just started that. And, Wausau is really positioned itself at the front of the line because of the leadership of Governor Evers, the leadership of Mayor Rosenberg, and its participation in this, what we call lead accelerator program. It's really, it should be called a lead removal accelerator program, because we're replacing pipes. And I can't wait to talk to this family that we will be meeting, and we will be actually connecting clean water to their home. It is truly going to be a historic moment for them. And it should be a moment that everybody should get to experience, not simply in Marathon County or Wisconsin, but across the country. And that's what the president's doing. This is just the basic building blocks of healthy communities. This is a public health issue. It's an economic development issue, because these are going to create good union jobs across the state and frankly across the country. And these are really, really necessary.
Yeah. And so give us an idea then of what your role has been in this process. I mean, how have you been helping Wausau get access to these funds that are going to help us get all these lead service lines replaced at, what a lot was a shock to a lot of people in a good way, at absolutely no cost to the homeowners like myself and everybody else here in Wausau.
Right. By the way, you made a point I should have underscored. If the question is, what's it going to cost me? The answer is, it's not going to cost you anything. This is an investment from government, and it's making sure your taxpayer dollars are put to good use. That's what this is about. That's why President Biden secured literally an unprecedented amount of money, $15 billion, to advance the goal of replacing 100% of these lead pipes by the end of the decade. It's an ambitious goal, but I am confident we can do it. And again, thanks to the leadership of Governor Evers and Mayor Rosenberg, you're really near the front of the line here. Mm-hmm. And that's great. So I'm really, that's what it's about. I'm going to be visiting the Thau family in Wausau, and I'm going to be actually helping them activate their new water pipe. And by the way, the pipe that's been in their house has been there for 46 years. They're grandparents, okay? Yeah. And some listeners may ask the question. I know lead pipes sound bad, but what do they do if you are exposed for long periods of time? Well, it can lead to higher cholesterol. It can lead to decreasing your chances, if you're a woman, of getting pregnant if you want. It can lead to all sorts of potential exposures to cancer, increased exposure to cancer. In other words, a lot of bad stuff can take place. And this is one of those things.
Yeah, not to mention what it does for a developing brain, for young children. I know that's absolutely this family. That's their biggest thing, is they've got grandkids and they want the water to be safe for them as well.
I
Yeah,
mean,
talking with Tom Perez here from the White House, and Tom, one more thing I kind of wanted to ask you here. I know you're on a tight schedule, obviously. We're talking about how Wausau is going to be kind of a blueprint as far as this lead service line accelerator remover program goes. I mean, we're really, again, the first ones at this. Give us an idea when you got involved with this and how you're going to be watching this, maybe tweaking the plan so areas like Milwaukee, who have 10 times more lead service lines than we do, can then implement it and be
sure.
successful.
No, I mean, I've been involved in this since the moment I arrived with the president, and the bipartisan infrastructure bill was the inspiration for this. President Biden understood, because he was vice president at the time, the impact of lead in drinking water, and so this was, and he understood that this was an issue that really cut across every. It's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's an American issue that touches people across the country. In Wausau, there's 8,000 lead pipes that are going to be replaced. As you correctly said, we're not stopping in Wausau. This will happen across the state of Wisconsin. There's a lead pipe removal accelerator program that Mayor Rosenberg has participated in. And I can't say enough good things about Governor Evers and Mayor Rosenberg. They've been exceedingly aggressive in saying, we want to be at the front of the line, and we will put skin in the game to make sure we are at the front of the line. And I've worked with Governor Evers on a host of things, frankly, since the beginning of his governorship in Wisconsin. And I loved what he said a while back when he said, boring is good. Because he is waking up every day. My job is not to entertain people. My job is to govern, and it's to do good government things. Clean water is good government. And Mayor Rosenberg has been a relentless advocate for this. And the proof is in the pudding, because you really are near the front of the line in Wausau because of, in no small measure, her advocacy. And so this is an exciting moment because we really, as a nation, we've underinvested in our infrastructure, our physical infrastructure, and frankly, our human capital infrastructure, investing in people. The president is really, really focused on making sure every youngster has an opportunity to get a quality public education, making sure that people who lose their job because the plant leaves, that we can help you retool at the community college or the labor hall to continue to punch your ticket to the middle class. And you look at the unemployment rates coming down and down in Wisconsin. The biggest workforce challenge in Wisconsin is workforce.
Mm-hmm.
There's a worker shortage in a number of areas. And that is a challenge, but that's a good challenge to have because we've seen the opposite. And because of Bidenomics, which is really a fancy term for building the economy, growing the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. None of this trickle down stuff where we just hope that, rich people will help us out. That's not what Joe Biden's about. Joe Biden is a Scranton, PA guy. There's a lot of similarities between Wausau, Wisconsin and Scranton, PA. I've been to both, so I speak with some degree of authority. And I've been to Wausau, a number of times, especially the trip from the cabin in Crivets to Madison. We frequently stop in Wausau to grab a bite to eat, and actually to go to some of the couple outlets. But we'll talk about that some other time.
Right.
But this is a really important moment, and really the basic value proposition here is that no family in this country, no person in this country should have to worry that the water from their tap will harm them or poison their kids or poison their grandkids. And I know people sometimes question, are my precious tax dollars being well spent? This is good government at work, making sure that everyone there has clean drinking water. It's an ambitious goal, by the way, 8,000 pipes in Wausau. We're
5 year
trying to do
period,
this
no less.
across America. It's ambitious, but you know what? That's what Joe Biden's about. Yeah, that's what Tony Evers is about. That's what Mayor Rosenberg's about. They have what I call a healthy impatience. They want to make sure that we're expanding opportunity for everyone, and we're doing it really fast.
So then one more thing before we let you go. What about this project then is going to be what the federal government kind of copies and pastes to the next community in line, if you will, be that Marshall, Minnesota, be that Brainerd, Minnesota, be that Dickinson, North Dakota, wherever it is you're thinking about doing this next? What part of this program here in Wausau are you going to take to those communities?
Whether it's La Crosse, Wisconsin, Marinette, Wisconsin, or Montreal, Wisconsin, over in the northwest corner where I have spent time. Yeah, the Berkey Miner is not too far from there. I used to be a cross country skier, and my recollection serves me. That's up there. Here's the formula that we'll take everywhere: is partnership, making sure that we're working closely with mayors, with other county and local elected officials. We're working. We'll be working with Governor Evers and other governors everywhere. We'll be working with the labor unions, and LIUNA is a big partner in this effort. They were big supporters. There's a huge LIUNA presence in Wisconsin. They are incredibly important partners. And as we expand this, you're going to see a lot more help wanted signs up. And by the way, these are good union middle class jobs. That's when I think of Wisconsin, I think of the middle class. Wisconsin is thriving when the middle class is thriving, when people have an opportunity to pursue those dreams. I've been to Lambeau many times. And that's what I love about it. It's just, everyday Wisconsinites who, just want to see a better life for their kids, and they want to see a safe life for their community. And safe drinking water is kind of where it starts. And that's what we keep doing it.
When you and President Biden get together then and have the meetings, wherever it is you happen to have them, who reaches for the check first?
Well, when we have meetings in his office or around his office, which I'm thinking of one that took place a week or so ago, I must confess that on the way out, there's a bowl with the White House cookies there that people are free to take. And I confess I take a couple every time, because it never gets old to bring a cookie home with the White House seal to your wife.
Kate has a few in her office. I can promise you that from a last time. Yeah.
Amen.
So but come on. Is he the type that reaches for the check, or does he let it sit there for a couple of minutes to see if you'll make the first move?
Joe Biden is one of the most humble people I have met in my life. I grew up in Buffalo. He grew up, in Scranton. And there's not a phony bone in anyone's body in those towns. They're towns that have taken a few body blows. I was a kid when my dad died. My mom almost died that same summer, and my surrogate father was a Teamster. He had maybe a 10th grade education, but he was the wisest person I ever met. Frankly, there's sometimes an inverse correlation between the number of years of formal education and your wisdom. I saw a lot of people in graduate school that didn't have an iota of EQ. They may have had IQ, but they didn't have EQ.
Right.
And, Joe Biden's life experiences give him a wisdom that is really needed in this moment. Because these are challenging times, not only in our nation, but in our world. And he's the type of guy who's always going to want to pick up the check, especially if he knows that, you've been struggling.
Right.
He's the type of guy who, we're less than a week removed from yet another trip to a community that was torn apart by a mass shooting up in Maine. And he's no stranger to personal tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he talks to folks, it's not a hollow exercise of when he says, "I feel your pain," as someone
Oh
who's
yeah.
buried his wife, his first wife, two of his children. I mean, he knows pain in a very visceral and personal way. And he visits communities across this country, and there's no filters of red and blue. There's just filters of communities that are struggling, suffering. That was Maine last week, and that will be that's who he is. I've had the privilege of getting to know him pretty well, dating back to the mid 90s when I worked for Senator Kennedy in the United States Senate, and they were very close. And I want my leader to be compassionate. I want my leader to have that ability to step in the shoes of families like the Thows. The Thows wouldn't be able to afford to hire someone to change their pipes.
No doubt.
And nor would the other folks whose pipes we will be fixing. And that was the life Joe Biden led. And that's what Bidenomics is about. It's about just giving a fair shake to folks. People don't want handouts. They want a hand up. Give me a chance to succeed, and I'll show you I can do it.
Absolutely.
That's what Joe Biden's about, and that's what his entire life has been about. There's not a phony bone in his body. And that's why he does things like lead pipes, replacing lead pipes. That's why we're doing things like the child tax credit. I don't know if your viewers are aware, but in 2021 there was a law that Joe Biden passed. Unfortunately, it ended up being a partisan law, so no Republicans supported it, that cut childhood poverty by 40%. 40%. So think about Marathon County. One idea would have reduced childhood poverty by 40%. And that was the child care tax credit. And we tried to make it permanent, but unfortunately, we couldn't get Republican support for it. And that breaks my heart, because the folks who were benefiting from this, they're not the rich folks in the community. They're the folks who are living paycheck to paycheck, who are wondering, do I buy my insulin or do I buy my food?
Yeah.
And those are the things that keep him up at night, because he is in this business to help folks, especially those in need. So a lot more work to do. And yes, he wants to pick up the check, but he really wants to pick up the opportunity for a community across this country.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate the time, Director Perez. We'll look forward to seeing you later today as well when we turn this mic on. And
that'll be great.
Absolutely. Now, next, I was going to give you some restaurant recommendations while you're in town, but sounds like you got that covered. So,
well, Mayor Rosenberg, just let me know where I can get a good Leinenkugel. Okay, it is the fall, so no more summer shandy. So we got to move into the heavier stuff.
Indeed. Well, we appreciate the time again. We'll look forward to catching up with you again later this afternoon.
Excellent. Take care.